The twin suns of Altheria cast a golden glow over the royal city. Towering crystal spires reflected light in colors that shimmered like rainbows, and flying vehicles darted between the buildings with smooth, silent precision. From above, the city looked like a jewel set against the vast purple plain surrounding it. But beneath this beauty, the palace buzzed with tension. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of the central tower, arms crossed, looking down at the main plaza. Her bright violet eyes sparkled with mischief and pride. Today was unusual. A human warrior had arrived, a rare visitor from a planet far beyond Altheria's borders. Humans were strange, unpredictable, and often underestimated by her people. Most Altherians considered them weak and clumsy. Lyra, however, found the idea of meeting one amusing. She loved to mock what she did not understand. Below, a group of guards opened the palace gates and a figure stepped through. He was tall with broad shoulders and wore simple armor unlike the flashy, sleek uniforms of the Altherian elite. His face was strong, with a determined jawline and deep, intelligent eyes that seemed to measure everything around him. He walked steadily, as if the entire palace were not staring at him. That calm confidence drew whispers from the crowd. "Look at him, Mother," Lyra said, a teasing tone in her voice. "Does he even belong here? His armor is so plain, and he walks like he owns nothing at all." Queen Seraphina, regal and composed, turned from the balcony behind her daughter. Her silver hair gleamed in the sunlight. "Lyra," she said gently, "humans are not what they seem. Never judge a warrior by his clothes or his size." Lyra smirked. "Mother, he is a human. How dangerous can he be? He is funny to watch. I want to see him try and fight our soldiers. He will fail." The queen sighed, her calm expression hiding concern. She had a feeling that this human was unlike any other Altherians had seen. "Perhaps," she said carefully, "you will learn that strength is not always visible, Lyra. Be careful what you mock." Lyra ignored the warning and ran down the spiral staircase, her flowing robe brushing against the polished floors. She loved the thrill of showing her superiority. In the central plaza, guards and nobles were gathered to witness the arrival. The human warrior walked past the crowd with quiet dignity, nodding respectfully to the Altherian commanders. Lyra approached him with a confident, teasing stride. "So you are the human they sent," she said, tilting her head. "I have seen creatures from many worlds, but none as ordinary as you. Do you even know how to fight?" Jason, the human warrior, looked at her calmly. He did not bow or lower his gaze. Instead, he measured her with sharp, intelligent eyes. "I fight the way I must," he said in a steady voice. "And I fight to protect, not to show off." The words were simple, but they carried weight. The crowd murmured. Humans were unpredictable in speech and action. They often did not act like other species, and that was part of their strange power. Lyra frowned, feeling irritation mixed with curiosity. She had expected fear or hesitation. Instead, she saw calm confidence. "I see," Lyra said, smiling coldly. "We shall see how confident you are in the arena. Our soldiers will show you the difference between human tricks and real combat skill." The guards opened a gate leading to the palace training grounds. The arena was circular, with soft, energy-absorbing floors and walls lined with floating displays showing previous duels. Lyra stepped onto the arena platform, her weapon, a light saber-like staff, glimmering in her hand. She was one of the finest young warriors in Altheria, trained in both combat and strategy. Jason followed without hesitation. His weapon was simple, a single-edged sword, worn from countless battles. Yet he held it with ease, his stance firm and balanced. The contrast between him and the polished, almost decorative Altherian warriors was striking. Lyra's lips curled in a mocking smile. "Do you even know how to hold that? Your people fight like children." Jason simply nodded. "I fight like a survivor." The duel began. Lyra lunged forward with speed, her staff spinning through the air in precise, deadly arcs. Jason blocked and dodged, moving with careful control. The first few strikes were fast, but Jason did not panic. Instead, he adapted, reading her moves like a puzzle. The crowd gasped. Every Altherian expected him to falter quickly, but he did not. Lyra's expression shifted from amusement to disbelief. How could this human anticipate her attacks? He was slower, yes, but every move was measured, every block perfectly timed. She adjusted her style, trying to overwhelm him, but Jason countered cleverly, forcing her to step back more than once. The whispers grew louder. "He is strange. He is not like the other humans," someone muttered. "Look at how he moves. He learns fast." Lyra's pride burned. She had never been bested in the palace arena, never by anyone. Now, this human, whom she had mocked, was holding his ground. Her cheeks flushed with frustration. Finally, she swung her staff in a wide arc, aiming to catch him off guard. Jason did not flinch. Instead, he stepped aside, catching her wrist and redirecting her energy harmlessly toward the floor. Lyra stumbled, barely regaining her balance. For the first time, she felt a flicker of fear, not for her life, but for her pride. Jason released her hand and stepped back, his face calm. "You fight well," he said, "but strength alone does not win battles. Strategy and heart do." Lyra's anger boiled, but she could not deny the truth in his words. Her eyes narrowed. This human was not ordinary, and something in him suggested experience far beyond what she had imagined. Queen Seraphina, watching from the balcony, smiled faintly. She knew that this human was no ordinary warrior. The time had come for her daughter to learn that courage, wisdom, and resilience sometimes came in forms she had never expected. Lyra clenched her staff, her pride still burning. "This is not over," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "I will prove who I am." Jason nodded once, respectfully. "I will be ready," he said, his voice steady and calm, as if he already knew the challenges ahead would test more than strength. They would test honor, trust, and perhaps family. The crowd remained silent, waiting, unsure what would come next. But one thing was clear. The human warrior had arrived, and he was unlike any Lyra had ever faced. The palace arena was alive with tension. The air buzzed with energy, a mixture of anticipation, excitement, and disbelief. Princess Lyra stood at the center, gripping her glowing staff tightly, her heart pounding, not with fear, but with the sting of humiliation. She had always been confident, admired, and feared in the palace. To be matched and even countered by a human warrior was a blow to her pride she had never expected. Jason stood calmly across from her, his sword simple yet sharp, his movements deliberate and precise. He did not sneer, nor did he show arrogance. Unlike most Altherian fighters, he did not need flashy moves or flashy armor to impress. Every motion he made was controlled, measured, and effective. Lyra's violet eyes narrowed. "You will not win this duel," she said, her voice sharp. "No human ever has." Jason tilted his head slightly, almost smiling. "I am not trying to win," he said quietly. "I am trying to survive, and to show you something important." Lyra scoffed and lunged. Her staff whipped through the air in a series of fast, complex strikes designed to overwhelm him. The crowd gasped as the weapon blurred with speed. Guards held their breath, expecting the human to falter. But Jason did not. He sidestepped one swing, ducked another, and blocked a third with his sword. Each movement was precise, and he used Lyra's own momentum against her. When her staff struck the ground in a final attempt, he stepped back calmly, untouched. The audience was stunned. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. How is he doing this?" one noble muttered. "No human has ever lasted this long in the arena." Lyra's frustration grew, her cheeks flushed, her pride burning hotter than the twin suns above. "Impossible," she shouted. "He is only human." Jason's calm eyes met hers. "Strength is not only in muscles," he said. "It is in mind, heart, and control." Lyra's staff glowed brighter, responding to her anger. She spun and struck faster, a flurry of arcs and thrusts designed to end the duel. Jason responded without haste. He anticipated her attacks, reading her every movement. Sometimes he blocked, sometimes he redirected, and sometimes he simply moved out of the way. Each time, Lyra's frustration deepened. The young princess could not understand it. Every Altherian warrior had feared her, bowed to her skill, or been defeated easily. This human, however, was different. He did not strike to harm, yet he did not lose. He was calm, patient, and precise. Lyra lunged one more time, faster than before. This time she expected Jason to falter, but he did not. In a single, controlled motion, he caught her staff with his sword, holding it firmly while keeping his own weapon ready. The crowd gasped. Lyra staggered back, surprised by his strength and control. "You," she whispered, staring at him in disbelief. "You are not ordinary." Jason released her staff, stepping back respectfully. "Neither are you," he said. "You fight with skill, with heart. But pride can blind a warrior." Lyra's pride burned, but she could not deny the truth. She was stunned by his skill, by his calmness, by the strange strength in his human body that defied her expectations. She realized in that moment that she had underestimated him, foolishly and completely. The crowd erupted in whispers and quiet applause. Even the palace, guards trained to respect protocol and remain impartial, found themselves amazed humans were rare. The sun had begun to set over Altheria, casting long shadows across the palace's crystal floors. Inside the royal chambers, Princess Lyra paced back and forth, her mind racing. The duel in the arena still burned in her memory. Every strike, every block, every moment when the human warrior had anticipated her movements, it all haunted her. Lyra's pride had been wounded, and she hated the feeling. She had mocked Jason when he arrived, calling him weak and ordinary. Yet now she could not shake the truth. He was extraordinary. Calm, precise, unyielding in skill and strategy. More importantly, he had not humiliated her intentionally. He had shown restraint, patience, and a strange, steady wisdom. Finally, unable to contain her frustration, Lyra stormed into her mother's private chambers. Queen Seraphina sat at her desk, reviewing messages from distant worlds, her silver hair catching the light of the fading suns. She looked up as her daughter entered, her expression calm and measured. "You have returned from the arena earlier than expected," the queen said softly. Lyra's violet eyes flashed with anger. "Mother, this human, he is not what he seems. He is extraordinary. How can he be so strong, so calm, so different? And he does not even fight to show off." The queen gestured for Lyra to sit. "He is different, because he is human," she said gently. "Humans are not like the Altherians. They are clever, adaptable, and resilient. They survive when all odds are against them. That is what makes them remarkable." Lyra crossed her arms. "I know that now, Mother. But even so, he should not have been able to move like that, to anticipate my every strike. It is impossible." Queen Seraphina leaned back in her chair, her gaze distant, as if remembering something from long ago. "Lyra, there is something you must know. Something I have kept from you for your entire life." Lyra frowned. "What is it?" The queen took a deep breath. "Jason is not just a warrior sent to protect Altheria. He is your sire, your biological father." Lyra froze. Her staff clattered to the floor. Her mouth opened, then closed, as if words had abandoned her. What did you say?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Queen Seraphina's eyes softened. "I know this is difficult to accept. You have mocked him, called him ordinary, and now you discover he is your father. It was necessary to keep this secret. Political enemies threatened our family, and Jason's presence was meant to ensure your safety. He has trained, fought, and lived in secret, watching over you, preparing for the day you might need him." Lyra's mind spun. Her anger, pride, confusion, and curiosity collided into a storm of emotions. She could not reconcile the human she had mocked with the father she had never known. He is my father? The human I just fought? Yes, the queen said quietly. And it is time for you to see him not as a warrior but as family. You must learn from him, understand him, and perhaps trust him. Lyra backed away, her mind a whirlwind. Trust him? Mother, I barely understand him. I barely know him. And now you tell me he is my father? Queen Seraphina stood and placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. I understand your shock. But Jason is not here to replace me, nor to command you. He is here to guide you in ways only a human can. Strength, strategy, resilience, these are gifts he can teach you. And one day, you may see why it was important that he remained hidden until now. Lyra sank into a chair, her hands trembling. She had always prided herself on her independence, her skill, her intelligence. And now she had to accept that a human, a stranger until today, was not only stronger than she imagined but also her father. Hours passed in silence. The twin suns disappeared completely, leaving the room bathed in the soft glow of crystal lamps. Lyra stared at the floor, lost, in thought. Her mind kept returning to the duel, to the way Jason had fought with such calmness and precision. Could that be inherited strength? Could that calm confidence, that quiet strategy, really be part of her lineage? Finally, Lyra looked up at her mother. If he is my father, then everything I thought I knew about strength, skill, and honor. She trailed off, struggling to find the words. Queen Seraphina smiled faintly. You are beginning to understand. Humans have a different way of seeing the world. They survive against impossible odds, not because they are stronger, but because they adapt, endure, and learn. Jason embodies all of that, and you do too, though you do not yet see it. Lyra took a deep breath, her mind still racing. She wanted to see him again, to test herself, but not in anger, not in pride. She wanted to understand him. She wanted to know how the human she had mocked could also be the one who gave her life. Her mother seemed to sense her thoughts. Tomorrow you will train with him, Queen Seraphina said. Not as a pupil, not as an enemy, but as a daughter learning from her sire. You will discover what it means to be human, and perhaps in time, you will see the strength in yourself that comes from him. Lyra's hands clenched the arms of her chair. She was conflicted, confused, and frustrated, but beneath it all a spark of curiosity ignited. She wanted to meet this human again, not to fight, but to learn, to understand, and perhaps to connect. The palace was quiet that night. The sounds of distant waterfalls and the soft hum of crystal energy filled the corridors. Lyra could not sleep. She thought of Jason, of the duel, of his calm eyes, of the strange power she could not deny. She wondered what it truly meant that he was her father. Finally, she whispered to herself, her voice almost lost in the silence. If he is my sire, then I will learn from him, and I will not fail. Unseen by Lyra, in a distant part of the palace, Jason remained alert. He had been instructed not to reveal his true identity until the queen deemed it safe. Yet he sensed the shift in the young princess. She was curious now. She was open to learning. And that, he thought silently, was the first step toward the bond they would share. A bond stronger than blood alone, strengthened by trust, respect, and shared destiny. Tomorrow, the lessons would begin, and the young princess would learn that strength came in more forms than she had ever imagined. The next morning, the palace training grounds were alive with motion and sunlight. Princess Lyra stood in the center, gripping her staff with renewed determination. She had spent the night thinking about her mother's words and the revelation about Jason. He was her sire, her father. Her pride still simmered beneath the surface, but now it was mixed with curiosity. She had to understand him, learn from him, and perhaps discover something about herself. Jason approached quietly, his sword in hand. He did not rush, did not boast. He simply stood before her, calm and composed, waiting. Lyra could see a faint smile on his lips as if he understood the storm of emotions within her. "Good morning, Princess," he said in his deep, steady voice. "Today we will begin." Lyra's lips pressed into a firm line. "Begin what?" she asked, though she already knew. "Training, learning, the lessons her mother had hinted at." Jason nodded. "Learning how to fight, how to think, how to survive. But first you must understand something. Being a warrior is not just about strength. It is about strategy, awareness, and adaptability." Lyra frowned. "I know that already," she said, sharply. "I have trained all my life." Jason's eyes were calm, unshaken. "Then we will see if your knowledge matches your skill." The first exercises were simple: movement, balance, focus. Lyra spun her staff, leaped, and ducked, as Jason watched carefully. Unlike other instructors she had known, he did not correct her with harsh words or anger. He observed, waited, and let her see where she could improve. "Your movements are fast," he said quietly. "But sometimes you anticipate too much, or you expect your opponent to act the way you want. A warrior must be ready for anything. Watch, adapt, react." Lyra frowned, attempting to adjust her stance. At first it felt strange. She had always relied on her training, her instincts honed for years. But Jason's lessons were different. They were not rigid. They required thinking, observing, and understanding both herself and her opponent. Hours passed as Lyra sparred with him. She struck, blocked, spun, and lunged, and each time Jason responded, not to overpower her, but to guide her. He demonstrated human techniques that were simple, elegant, and effective. Movements that seemed ordinary at first became powerful when combined with timing, strategy, and observation. By midday, Lyra's muscles ached and her breathing was heavy, but she felt a growing sense of understanding. She began to notice patterns, not just in Jason's movements but in her own. She had human traits she had never recognized: quick thinking, adaptability, and endurance beyond what even Altharians expected. "You are learning," Jason said quietly as she paused to catch her breath. "Humans survive in ways that are not obvious. Strength is not just in your muscles but in your mind, your patience, your heart. You have those traits too, Lyra. They are part of you." Lyra's eyes widened. "Part of me? But I am Altharian. I fight like Altharians." Jason nodded. "Yes, but you are also human. Those traits are in your blood. You will see how they help you, not replace who you are." The young princess looked at him, her mind spinning. For the first time, she felt a strange connection, not just as a pupil learning from a teacher, but as a daughter recognizing the presence of her sire. It was confusing, overwhelming, but also comforting. The afternoon brought more challenging exercises. Jason taught her about strategy, about reading opponents, and about controlling emotion in battle. Lyra learned to combine Altharian speed with human patience. The peace of Altheria did not last long. Word arrived from the outer systems. A coalition of alien warlords, hungry for power, was marching toward the planet. Their fleets were enormous, armed with weapons that could level entire cities. Panic spread through the royal city as alarms sounded across the palace and surrounding districts. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of the central tower, her staff in hand. Her eyes scanned the distant horizon where small lights, enemy scouts, were already approaching. She felt a mix of fear, anger, and determination. She had trained under Jason for days, learning both human and Altharian techniques. Now it was time to see if her lessons could save her home. Jason approached quietly, his sword strapped to his back. He had been watching the preparations, studying the enemy's patterns. "Lyra," he said calmly, "they are strong. But strength alone does not win wars. Strategy, patience, and adaptability do. You must remember what you have learned. Lyra turned, her violet eyes sharp. I remember, sire. But this is different. This is war, not training. Jason nodded. Exactly. And you will see that your human traits, your adaptability, your endurance, your quick thinking, are more valuable now than ever. Trust yourself, trust what you have learned, and trust each other. The palace gates opened, and the royal forces began to mobilize. Altherian soldiers, equipped with energy weapons and advanced armor, took their positions. Lyra led a squad of elite warriors, combining their speed and precision with her own newfound strategies. Jason coordinated the defenses, calmly issuing orders that blended human tactics with Altherian technology. The enemy fleet appeared above the city like a shadow stretching across the sky. Ships of all sizes glinted with deadly light. The coalition, warlords, had underestimated Altheria's defenders. They had expected panic, disorganization, and fear. Instead, they found calm, prepared, and unpredictable resistance. Lyra and Jason moved through the battlefield like a single unit, despite her pride and his quiet authority. He taught her how to use the environment to her advantage, how to anticipate attacks, and how to combine speed with clever tactics. She struck with precision, blocking and countering enemies far stronger than herself. At one point, a group of enemy soldiers broke through the palace's outer defenses, rushing toward the royal chambers. Lyra's squad was outnumbered, but she stayed calm, remembering Jason's lessons. She used her staff to channel energy attacks, redirecting opponents and forcing them into traps her team had set. Every move was deliberate, every decision careful. Jason appeared beside her, sword in hand, slicing through enemies with controlled power. He moved efficiently, protecting Lyra when necessary, but never overstepping. She noticed his eyes, always calm, always calculating. He was not just fighting, he was teaching, guiding, and protecting at the same time. The battle raged across the city, with explosions, energy blasts, and flashing light filling the skies. Yet through the chaos, Lyra felt a strange sense of focus. She had trained for this moment, and now she could see how human endurance and adaptability combined with her Altherian skill could turn the tide. At a critical moment, a massive enemy warrior, larger and stronger than any she had faced, charged at Lyra. She met him head-on, her staff clashing with his heavy weapon. She stumbled under the weight, and for a moment, panic flared. But then Jason was there, intercepting a second attacker and giving her the space she needed. "You can do this," he said quietly, his voice steady amidst the chaos. "Remember what you have learned. Trust yourself." Lyra's heart pounded. She focused, remembering the lessons. Anticipate, adapt, endure. She dodged, spun, and struck with precision. Her movements were a blend of Altherian speed and human strategy. The massive warrior faltered, and Lyra pushed forward, using his momentum against him. He crashed to the ground, defeated. Not through brute force alone, but through skill, cleverness, and resilience. The rest of the enemy forces hesitated, seeing the skill and coordination of the defenders. Lyra's squad pressed the advantage, supported by Jason and other Altherian warriors. Slowly, systematically, they pushed the invaders back, breaking through the front lines with a combination of human tactics and Altherian precision. Finally, the coalition warlords realized their defeat. Their fleet began to retreat, leaving behind the battlefield they had underestimated. The palace and city were battered but intact, a testament to the determination and skill of its defenders. Lyra stood amidst the aftermath, her staff glowing softly in the twilight. She looked at Jason, who remained calm, surveying the city and the retreating enemies. For the first time, she felt the full weight of what her mother had said. He was not just a warrior, not just a teacher. He was her sire, her protector, and her guide. "You fought well," Jason said quietly, stepping beside her. "But more importantly, you led, adapted, and survived. That is the mark of a true warrior." Lyra's chest rose and fell rapidly. She felt exhausted, exhilarated and proud all at once. I could not have done it without your guidance, she admitted softly. I never thought humans could be like this. Jason smiled faintly. You already had the strength within you. I only helped you see it. Now you know what it means to combine both your Altherian and human traits. That combination makes you unstoppable. The crowd gathering around the palace cheered for their princess and the human warrior. Whispers of awe spread through the city. No one had expected a human to fight alongside Altherians with such skill and strategy. They had underestimated both Lyra and Jason, and they would never do so again. Queen Seraphina watched from her tower, pride shining in her eyes. She had known this day would come. Her daughter had faced true danger, not just as a warrior, but as a leader. And she had done so with the guidance of her sire, the human who had remained hidden, watching over her for years. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the city in shades of orange and purple, Lyra looked at Jason. A silent understanding passed between them. They were not just father and daughter by blood. They were warriors, allies, and partners in the protection of Altheria. And as the stars began to twinkle in the sky above, Lyra realized that this battle was only the beginning. With Jason by her side, she would face any threat, no matter how impossible it seemed. Together, they were unstoppable. The palace was quiet in the morning light, the calm after the storm of the recent battle. The city of Altheria, though battered, had survived thanks to the courage of its warriors and the unexpected guidance of a human warrior. Princess Lyra walked through the halls, her mind alive with thoughts she could not easily organize. She paused before the training grounds where Jason stood, watching the sun rise over the horizon. His presence was calm, steady, as it always had been. Lyra's heart raced. She had trained with him, fought alongside him, and learned more than she ever thought possible. Yet she still struggled with the final truth, the truth her mother had revealed. Jason was her sire. Lyra took a deep breath and stepped forward. Jason, she said softly. He turned, eyes calm and full of quiet patience. Princess? He asked, though she could see he already knew what she wanted to say. I need to thank you, Lyra began, her voice trembling slightly. Not just for the training, not just for protecting Altheria, but for everything. For being here, for showing me how to fight, how to think, how to survive, and for being my father. Jason's expression remained gentle. You already carry the strength of both Altherian and human blood. I only helped you see it. Being your father does not mean controlling you. It means guiding you, protecting you, and trusting you to grow into the warrior and leader you are meant to be. Lyra's violet eyes filled with emotion. For the first time, she fully accepted the truth. She felt a connection that went beyond skill, beyond blood. She understood that strength was not just physical. It was trust, respect, and shared purpose. I am proud, she said quietly, to be your daughter. And I want to make you proud too. Jason nodded, a faint smile on his lips. You already do, Lyra. You fought alongside me in the battle and led your people with courage and wisdom. That is all a father could hope for. The sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the palace grounds. The city's citizens, having repaired what they could overnight, were beginning to gather in the plaza to celebrate the victory. Altherians and humans alike had watched the events unfold, and stories of Lyra's leadership and Jason's skill were already spreading across the planet. Lyra turned to Jason, determination shining in her eyes. We need to prepare for the future. If warlords from the outer systems tried to invade us once, they will come again. And next time, we must be ready. Together. Jason nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder. Together, he agreed. Altherian strategy, human resilience, and your leadership. We will protect your people, your home, and your family. The queen approached, her silver hair glowing in the sunlight. Lyra, she said, her voice filled with warmth and pride, You have grown beyond what I ever imagined. You have embraced your heritage, learned from your sire, and proven yourself. As a true leader, the city, the palace, and your people are lucky to have you. Lyra bowed her head slightly, a smile tugging at her lips. Thank you, Mother. And thank you for trusting me. And him. Jason stepped back, giving Lyra space. You have earned this respect, he said. Not because of who I am, but because of who you are. Remember,